Hi everyone, if you were with us last week you would have seen this and this and this. We had a huge flood just go straight through our flower farm. And this week we're looking at the damage. I'm going to walk you through and just show you what we're going to have to do to fix it. Let's get into it. Hello. I've been holding this off because we've had so much wind. It's making it really hard to film and the mic is just picking it all up. So bear with me, hopefully you can hear me. We are in our field and I'm going to show you what's happened. So as you saw last week, we had all of that rain and it just kind of went across our entire flower farm. And unfortunately it has caused a fair bit of damage. I'll walk you through it now. We still have some stuff that we can harvest from, but we've lost a lot of our crops now. For two reasons: the water, things have rotted and got damaged, and secondly, with all this bad weather we've just had uncontrollable amount of weeds, and also the inability to get out here and weed it, just because it's been absolutely soaking wet. So yeah, I'll show you what we're working with now. So plot 1, I'm just watching James. James, there's snakes. Plot 1. Anyway, he doesn't care. Look at him. So plot 1, it did okay. Probably the most, well, we've lost this bed. It just washed out, as you saw, and it's all here now. Probably the most frustrating thing with all that water that ran over the ground. We had a nice layer of topsoil and the rocks, we'd sort of picked them out. It's just washed the topsoil away and now all the rocks are exposed again. But if you've been watching, we've been wanting to get a big truckload of compost out. We're really lucky we hadn't done that yet because it would have washed away. So we would have spent about $350 on this soil and it would be in our neighbour's, well, it'd probably be somewhere in that paddock or in our neighbour's place. So, but yeah, this is the dahlias I planted out. So someone messaged to say that the soil looked so nice and healthy. And I said, oh, thank you. But were you serious? Does it actually? Because I'm looking at this just wondering, are they going to survive? I can see them popping up though. But look at all the rocks. This one's probably okay. Yeah. This one Moroni's fixed up already. Yeah. We've got Cosmos in. That bed there, we're ripping it out. I'll show you. So this is plot 1. We'll obviously keep this, but the ranunculus, hopefully they start to die off soon. We can pull them out and we will pull this bed out. The most damage was on plot 2. So this is the one we're coming up to now. Most of plot 2 has to be ripped out. This is the Godetia. It's just a product of way too much water. They're flowering, but the stems and the foliage look so bad. It's not really usable now. And the weed pressure has just kind of swallowed up the flowers. And this is one of my favorite flowers. They're so beautiful and they usually flower a bit closer to December or in December. And I'm usually harvesting it and putting it with the lilies, which looks amazing. But we are just going to cut our losses, not have Godetia this year, rip the whole thing out, start again with that row. This row with the Luxbar, we're ripping it out as well. It's, I mean, we're getting a little bit of flowers up that end, we might keep it. But this end, it got too waterlogged, it sat underwater for a really long time. Hey everyone, just dropping in very quickly to say, and I forgot to say it in the video, one of the issues with all this water and how compacted the soil became is the soil's now lacking oxygen. So just keep that in mind with everything you see, and that's another issue we're going to have to do. We need to aerate the soil again. It's stunted the growth of the plants. Things just don't look good. Like, oh, and look at all the... we have this mint that's just come up spontaneously. And it's kind of choking the plants out a little bit. They're just not growing as well as they did last year. Oh, James, stop it.
Come on.
Go past. I've been using, I really like the mint. I'm almost tempted to keep it as a mint row. Moroni is very against that idea. He just said it's going to be ongoing problems, which it probably will be. Row 3, this is our feverfew, which is flowering, but it's very, it just doesn't look great. It's not thick and lush. We aren't going to pull this row out because it is still a trial. It's not really a fair trial anymore because these were the plants from last year that we cut right to the ground and we let them reshoot to see what would happen. And I think under normal circumstances, they would have grown into really nice, fresh looking feverfew. But I just think because of what's happened, they've really struggled. Like these lower leaves have just turned out gross. Like it's just had too much water. So this may or may not get ripped out. I think we're just going to leave it just in case, like just to see what happens. But I won't use a stem in a bouquet that looks bad like that. Row 4, it's just a total and utter mess. This was the kale, which was all picked now. We've had the Nigella pop up, which is good, but look at all the weeds. It is, I'm just waiting for this Nigella to, like the seed pods to turn up, like them to develop, like these, because they look really pretty. That's not one. Where are they? I don't think any of this row's actually started yet, but and we're using a bit of the Nigella in bouquets, but it's not a very long lasting flower in a bouquet until it gets its seed pod. This is just a mess. This is a row that's got to go. We'll pick what we can and then just sacrifice the rest. Same with this. This is the ranunculus, which are really dying back now. But the Nigella also took over in here, which was working really good. That actually works really well to have ranunculus, because as the ranunculus are finishing off, the Nigella's taking off. And I really did like that, but we're really at the point where it's kind of been damaged by all the water. We've got some seed pods there, you can see that, from the Nigella. It's in the rows. We've left it everywhere because we just want to pick it, make the most of it, especially at the moment when we've lost probably over 50% of our crops, or we've been really slowed down. We'd normally be in full production by this time of year, but we've got almost nothing. There's just been freezing cold weather as well as all the wet. We've had days around 10 to 12 degrees lately, and it's just too cold. The soil temperature's cold again. It's been really weird. We've had snow around us as well. Like, it's just the most unfortunate start to the season. This end of the ranunculus bed, I really need to get in there and lift those corms because it sat underwater for a few days. And as you can see, even the weeds aren't really wanting to be in there anymore. So that's saying a lot. This is the feverfew. This is the first succession from this season, and it's doing really well. It's about to flower. The leaves are yellowing down in here, but I'm very hopeful that they're going to pop their flowers before that really starts to affect the plant too much. I think we're going to get a nice big harvest, especially up this end. This end stayed fairly dry. It's really down this end that really got the full brunt of it. But they're going to start flowering hopefully soon. I can smell them. They're beautiful. Another row that just decided to pop up in the middle of nowhere. This is the drumstick scabiosa. You know, I didn't like it last year because it was so short. But look at that. That stem must be nearly, well, if I cut it down to the ground, it's over 1 metre tall. But that is just so different to what we had last year. And maybe they need to drop their seeds. Can't get that to focus. Maybe they need to drop their seeds and really take off. I don't know. We've got some Queen Anne's lace too. Like, these are just volunteers that popped in. We're leaving them. Bit annoying that they're in the walking aisle. Now, this is an exciting thing. Turn around, Jamesy. This bed, the plants were ruined. I can't even remember what it was now. It was just a mess. Oh, it was weeds. but it was planted out with bells of Ireland, and somehow they just took off. Maybe they love all that water. Maybe they're just extremely water loving plants. So we've planted out our little seedlings in all the gaps, which was a lot. We're going to have a beautiful row of bells of Ireland, and I can't wait. Like, this is one of those surprising plants that just did amazing in all that water. In fairness to me saying that, this bed didn't get soaking wet. The water ran through it, but because there was so many weeds in the bed, it sort of protected the plants. If we get another flood at this point, it'll just gush over that and wash it away. So we're kind of risking it for the biscuit now. That's something really nice. I just love bells of Ireland. I'm so happy that we're going to have a row of those at least. The other plant that did surprisingly well, and I think because we've got a big mound of dirt and concrete there, we still have to get that removed, but it kind of saved the day for the beautiful, and I wish I could remember the variety. I'll have to go back through my notes. Snapdragons. They're little. They've got little heads. I'm sure... I've got to watch where he's going. I'm sure they could have been a lot bigger had they had really nice conditions, but I'm so happy. At least I got something. But the full brunt of the water kind of went over that way, and brings us to our next plant that just absolutely thrives in these conditions, and that was the sea holly. Look at it. I didn't even plant any this season. That is all self-seeded from last year's little crop, and we've even moved some. So we will, for next season, move some of the new plants and do this whole row of sea holly. I do struggle with it a little bit in bouquets. I feel it doesn't show up too much, but it's become such an easy plant to grow. It got really tall and it sort of fell over. We had to stake it up a little bit in there, but it's starting to colour up. Like, what an amazing blessing to have these plants that just thrived in those conditions. And then we've got I don't know how these guys survived. Some of them have they're on their way out. These are our Chrissies. These are just some spray Chrissies that we got from a friend. Well, you could turn them into disc buds if you wanted to, but we'll just leave them. So we're working on getting a layer of... Don't go through there. That's danger there, Jamesy. Go around. You can't go through there. There's snakes in there. Quick. Good boy. We're working on getting a layer of chip bark everywhere. It's been sitting in a pile for about a year now, so it's well and truly safe to put on our garden beds. And that's one of the ways we're going to fix this soil over here. We're hoping to still get that layer of compost, put that down, put the chip bark on top and plant into that. He is just having the best time, but it's making me worry. But surely at this point, if there's snakes, they've disappeared because there's a 3-year-old. Okay, Moroni's working on these. These, down through there, we had like a river run through. Moroni's been working on building those beds up. He's just been using whatever soil he can because it's going to end up fairly low down in the bed. But we've got to really work on that end, build it up. Sunflower survived the water. It kind of ran through. It did flood them a little bit. It went down into the gullies that we've dug around, the trenches, and it came down in here. So like I've mentioned, and we're not going to do it yet because if we get more flooding and we've freshly dug this out, the soil will just wash away. So we're leaving it with the grass now. If we get more flooding, we're just going to have to deal with it. And then once this La Nina and flooding period ends, we will get in here and start working on the idea we have of channeling, like a really wide, shallow channel to move water through, because the dam wall didn't break, it just overflowed. It must have a low spot up there and it just went all the way through. Anyways, these beds are getting ready to go get planted out into. We've got sunflowers. This is our first succession, second succession. The third succession was in. but nothing's come up. Or did they come up and they washed away? I can't remember. But we lost our third succession of sunflowers, but it's okay. We'll put another one in. They're pretty quick. Hello. The lilies survived. Haven't netted them. Gee, we risk it with not netting. I know, we've got 1,000 metres of net too. You think we put in... Okay, we've got to net these. These are falling over. We should have done it already. And I really hate having crooked glad stems. Thankfully, they're usually very long and I can work with it, but they've got tomatillos coming up. So, I don't remember if I mentioned already that the next succession of glad bulbs washed away. This is them. Mo and I found them. They were down there somewhere. So he's gone and retrieved them and put them back in the ground. Built it up a little bit. And now we keep... Oh, there's a dahlia. Just a random one. I don't know what's going on there. Water's come through here. So somehow he found them. We've got them in. We just hope for the best. We need to get the nets on though. This is the second succession of feverfew. Oh, I just nearly sunk into the ground there. It is really boggy. These ones are about to flower before that other one. I don't know whether they really liked the wet soil or what went on there. I've got some here. A little short one. So that is a bit weird, isn't it? We haven't soil tested here, but there's something going on. These ones are so short. The ones that got really wet are very tall. I wonder because the water just ran off. That's another channel, like another natural sort of. It comes down here, runs across here, and then goes out. You can kind of see the change in the grass there. So I don't know, full-blown irrigating these crops might have been a good way to do it, but we live in Australia, so crop irrigation like that's not exactly, usually a thing that works out very well. Okay, more nigella. We actually planted these ones, and as you can see, they're not as tall and thick and lush as the nigella that spontaneously self-seeded. We do have some turning into their seed pods, and they look really pretty. They're so interesting. Some zinnias are self-seeded too, so I guess this will become a zinnia bed as well. I guess the cool thing to see is when a plant self-seeds, it is climatizing to its area and to its conditions, and it's growing when it wants to grow, like when the conditions are absolutely perfect. Mother Nature's sent its signals and it pops up. Whereas when we're planting seeds, we're taking a pretty good guess, or we're trying to control the conditions to have things flower when we want them to flower. So the stuff that self-seeds is usually very strong. And I'm hoping as well more pest resistant. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. I don't know what kind of model could exist for a fully self-seeded flower farm. I think it would be absolute chaos. It would be very hard to pick, but maybe you could make bunches as you go. I don't know. Anyway, this paddock over here that is a bog, it wouldn't normally be this time of year. That's the plan for that, to trial that out. The only other thing to note in this area is up here where we are going to put our hothouses. It really got wet. If we'd had the hothouse up already, it would have just got washed out and just a total bog. I'm not sure if it would have got damaged. The plastic on the edges might have, but we would have been able to run out, lift all the plastic up and at least protect the hothouse. I have even heard of people having huge storms to protect their hothouse frames. They just go and rip the plastic, like cut slits in it to let the air through, because the plastic is a lot cheaper than the frames. We can buy a piece of plastic to cover our hothouse for about $400 or $500, whereas the hothouse itself was, like the kit with the frames and everything, was like $3,000. So anyway, something to keep in mind. I hope we never have to go and do that, but sometimes you've got to sacrifice something to save something else, and it does really suck. Speaking of hothouses, these are the little hothouses. Not only have we had rains and flooding and freezing cold weather, we've had very extreme wind as well. And it looks pretty terrible, but we actually don't mind because we're pulling them all down anyway. where most of these plants in here are either finished up. The lilies are not. We're in the process of getting the rest of the seedlings out. Like, it's going to be empty sort of within a week, hopefully. And then we're turning them the other way and running one long piece of plastic across the whole thing. We'll do shade cloth for the summer, the plastic for the winter, because we want to trial if we want a permanent structure here, or a bit more of a permanent structure, like a bit more of a sturdy sort of thing. So we're going to utilise these for now, the frames, just be one long walk-in frame, which I'll fill with fairy lights like I wanted to. And we'll just have a doorway probably at each end, or one at the front. We're not sure yet. We've been prioritising the field and getting as much planted out as we can because we're so behind. We've just left it. I know, it looks bad. Okay, the plants in here are doing pretty good. You can see how much that soil level has dropped though. It's just very tight in the ground now, which is probably not good. That's a blackberry. I need to get rid of that. Yeah, so my beautiful, beautiful white fluffy dahlias are up. I don't think these last two came up. No, so that's okay. I've got most of a row, which is great. And then this row is, so that was with Matricaria. It's doing okay. I think the soil just got a bit too compacted. And the feverfew is doing okay. It's a bit off colour because it's had a lot of water, but the dahlias are all coming up. Sand dune, red alert, Otway gem. My corn, it's loving it. Then I've got little angel. Melancholy didn't come up, so I ordered that one this year, but it's not going to work out. And cornflakes, which I'm really happy that I'm getting that. And then we've got this massive row of strawberries, and we've been picking a huge, like, couple of punnets a day from it, and it is amazing. And do you like the strawberries?
Strawberries.
He loves them. And raspberries are going to get going soon. Got the Cosmos bright lights over here. The reason I put it in this garden is because it's edible, and everything in this garden is edible except for the lilies. Don't eat them. Don't eat the glads either, but that's a work in progress over there.
No. No strawberry.
Yeah. There's one. Look at this.
It's bedtime.
Okay. So it's been a rough, 10 days. I'm filming this on Wednesday, so this will come out this Sunday, so it's right before it comes out. And I just sort of felt like, well, we feel okay now, but we just felt so down about it. We appreciate everybody who messaged us and left lovely comments. Thank you so much. I even got a message today from a mum, and her 2-year-old named Chelsea watch us. So that's really cute too. And hello, Chelsea. And we just got to get back into it. So if you've been watching for a little while, you'll know that, you know, spring I get so excited because I don't have to travel in it really, really early to the wholesaler anymore for the summer. Well, I do a little bit, but I'm not reliant on it. If I don't go in, it doesn't matter. But I have to obviously keep doing that now. And it's probably for a few more months. I'm really feeling hopeful that we're going to have an amazing summer season. Apparently we're going to have a wet summer again, which is actually amazing in Australia. And because drought is, when we do eventually have a dry summer, it's going to be hard to manage here. So all the channels that we're putting in to run water away from the flowers, we'll have to block them off when we do end up with dry summers. But they're saying that the underground water reservoirs now are full and that it will last us for the next 10 years. So hope that's true. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, maybe Australia's climate's changed a bit and it just won't go back to, this is it now. Like, maybe it won't go back to being stinking hot. Well, I'll still do that, but such a dry, barren sort of way of doing things. Maybe that won't happen now. I don't know. It's an interesting time to be farming.
yourself